everybody, Patty Ann here again. I've got a quick project to show you today. It's one of those reverse canvases, but this was so fast and easy. I want to show you how I did it. So as you can see, first of all, I don't mess with taking out the staples. I simply carefully use an X-Acto knife and go all around all four edges very carefully. And sorry, but I got my autofocus on my camera and it keeps going to a blur while it tries to focus. But anyway, you go around all four corners. The very corners, because there's so much fabric there, is going to give you a bit of a pain in the neck. But then you just start peeling it off like this. And for the corners, I had to just go over it again and again to get those to work okay, and to cut them out so that I could get them off. Now, as you'll notice shortly, I've decided I want to use the cream color of the canvas rather than the white side. I like the creamy side because it's more country and more fallish, and it goes with my final decoration that I made that you'll see at the end. So this part does take a little bit of time, but it's easy to do. It's just a little bit time consuming. Eventually, when I get this off, and before I press onto it, I am going to flatten it. And to flatten it over on my heat press, what I did was I put it shiny side, or the white side, up, and I was afraid that might melt at the temperature I had my heat set at on my press. So I did put a Teflon cover over it before I ironed it to flatten it and to release any extra moisture that might be in it. Okay, there we go. So it's all off now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure how much space I have to work with. So I notice that the inside area is almost 8 inches wide, but of course I don't want my design to be that big. So I guess I made it 6.5, I think it is, by 6.5 inch square. So let's go up here and I'll show you where I got the picture. It's from Creative Fabrica, and I know a lot of you have used my link for their huge sale that they have going on down below. I'm not sure how much this bundle costs because I own the monthly subscription. I paid $13 for it. It might be $9 or $10 a month now. If I were you, I'd grab that subscription, get as many things as you want, and you can cancel whenever you want. But there's tons of stuff. But when you download it, it'll come zipped like this, a folder. And then when you click on it, you're going to need to extract it. Extract all. And just say that. And I always let it go into the folder that it chooses. I'm going to cancel mine because I've already done it. But let's go back now to Silhouette because I'm going to show you how I do this. Now, I don't know if you're... Oh, there we go. Okay, so here it comes in like this. Now notice I'm using, if you come over here to the right-hand side, my portrait. My brand new portrait that I love for making projects like this. So I have it set to portrait and the cutting mat to portrait and the media size to 8.5 by 11 or letter because that's the size of the paper-ish stuff that I'm going to be using. Okay, and I want to make sure that I have my registration marks on because this is going to be a print then cut that I'm going to iron on later. So I do want to come up here, remember, and I want to change the size, make sure that the lock is locked, and I'll change the largest dimension there to 6.5, and that'll automatically change the other side as well. Now I wanted to see what it would look like, so I made a square, and I made the square 8 inches by 8 inches because that's approximately how much space we have to work with. And then I right-clicked on it and sent it to the back. So this was just so I could see how was my design going to look in that space. Was it going to be way too big or way too small? And I decided I just totally loved it, thought it was perfect. So I'm just going to delete that box. I don't need it. And before I print this, I'm going to come up here and go to Send up in the upper right hand corner because I want to see what it's going to look like when it cuts. Oh, but before I send it, I needed to flip it horizontally because the product that I'm using must be flipped horizontally or mirrored before I put it on my project. So now I'm going to go up to Send and see what it's going to look like. I will have it on Cut Edge because that's what I wanted to do, just cut the edges of those things. And now I'm going to go to Print It, Print. I never go to the settings there, but I do go to the settings in this little pop-up box that came up. And I want to change my paper type, but most importantly, I want to change my print configuration to the best that it can be. I think I put mine on prep. I can't read mine. It's too small. I'm looking that over. Presentation maybe. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, you'll choose for your printer. They're all different. So, but I do want to make my print quality to best, and then I'll say print. Alrighty, I'm just going to let that go to my printer, and I'll bring it back over here so you can see what it looks like. Oh, but while that's printing, are you aware of this little thing called Notes over here on the left-hand side? It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th icon up from the bottom on the left. That's where you can put notes that will not print, but if you save your project, it will save with your project. So the next time you want to make this project, you won't have to think, now what the heck did I do? So I'm putting it all out here for myself. The paper, or it's pretty much iron-on vinyl that I'm using is Jet Pro SS. I'll have these things linked down below. I'm putting it on canvas, 375 degrees for 30 seconds, hot or cold peel, and it's firm pressure. Okay, here's my printout. It looks terrific, doesn't it? So the next thing I'm going to do is to put this on my mat. And again, isn't this a super cute little mat? One of the reasons why I really like using this too is it just fits on my table so nicely. I wouldn't be able to fit my other things in front of me and work on them. But anyway, you need to notice that I'm putting the dark filled in square up in the upper left hand corner. Always that filled in square goes in the upper left hand corner of your mat. And once you've done that, you can just go up here on your computer screen and say Send. Now I do want to double check and make sure that it's connecting to the proper machine because I could have 3 of them all lined up ready to go today. But again, I wanted to make sure it was going to cut the edge. And notice it says it's ready. It's selected my little portrait there. So I'm going to say Send. I'm going to load it in. And what it's going to do first is simply read the registration marks. All 3 of them. Okay, and once it reads the registration marks, it will go over, and based on what I told it in the settings, it's going to set that blade to that depth and that speed and that pressure. And it's simply going to start cutting now. And I have it on really fast. Well, not really fast, it looks like. I could have speeded it up a bit more. I mean, I sped up the video, I think. Hang on. Okay, here's the bummer. I thought I was videotaping the whole time I was putting this together, and I wasn't. So the first thing I did do was put hot glue all the way around all the edges of the wood. And then I turned the wood over on top of my project. Then I went to the back and just rubbed it to make sure it was adhered well. The next thing I did was got out that same blade I used before and gently, you'll probably have to go twice, maybe 3 times down the side. If you go once really hard, sometimes that makes a mess and it buckles and doesn't do a good job. So I recommend going 2 times on each side. And then after I finished that, I simply made a bow with this thing called a bow dabra. And I think it turned out really pretty. What do y'all think? Do you like it? Hey, if you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the bell and share it. I really appreciate it. Check out my links down below. I'll see y'all again soon. Bye-bye.